Hey guys, Ricky here with the Backpacking Scouter. You've probably clicked on this video because you're a parent of a new scout who's joined a troop, and maybe you've gone to a few meetings and you keep hearing all the adult leaders and maybe even some of the scouts talking about this concept of scout-led. And depending on the troop that you're in, whether you're in a boy troop or you're in a girl troop, they could also call it boy-led or girl-led troop. And so you're trying to better get an understanding of what that concept really means. Well, hopefully here in this video, we're gonna give you that, and I'm gonna attempt to give you a better understanding of what scout-led really is and what those fundamentals look like, and better help you understand how to support that as you go forward. So a little bit about myself. I started off in scouting at a very early age. I've done all aspects of scouting growing up, from Tiger Cubs to Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts. I managed to reach the rank of Eagle Scout when I was in scouting as well. Even after I aged out of scouting at 18, I continued through college to be an adult volunteer and helped manage and was camp director for our summer camp for the 4 years through college. I also continued to be an adult volunteer just throughout the rest of my adult life. A little bits here and there. Some years I volunteered more than others. And then recently too, both of my boys have been in scouting, with the oldest here recently also receiving the rank of Eagle Scout as well. I continue to be an adult volunteer and helping the troops out. And like I said, some years that's a little more than others, but it's something I'm passionate about, and I'll continue to do it even in the years past, even when my boys are no longer in scouting. So here in this video, we're going to talk to you about scout-led and try to help you better understand the concepts. Not all troops are fully scout-led. The concepts of scouting in general really keeps you going towards most of the principles of scout-led, but having a full scout-led troop can be challenging. So I've broken this off into 5 categories. Why you should care. What is the fundamentals of scout-led? We're going to then dive down into a little bit more detail on some of the elements of scout-led. And then I'm going to hopefully describe to you what a scout-led troop should look like, and then also how you can help. So let's start with why you should care. To me, there's many reasons why it's important to have a scout-led troop and why it's important that we work through the hard challenges of trying to do that as adult leaders. But I'm going to share you with some of those comments as we go through this, but then also too, I pulled some national statistics to just better help some of this. So since 1910, over 130 million people have been involved in the scouting movement. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people that we've impacted, and a lot of folks that have gone out into regular life throughout that time frame. I can only imagine what that's going to be in the years to come. Some of the statistics I found, so 57% of all the astronauts have been involved in scouting. 36% of the governors across the nation reported that they were involved in scouting as a youth. In 2010, Gallup did a report, and it reported out here in the U.S. that over 39% of the adult males that they questioned had reported being a part of scouting. That's a big number. And then in that same report, 28% of folks reported that they were in some form of leadership position. And at that time, were making well over $90,000 a year in salary. And so it shows that scouting has an impact on the future leaders of our communities. And so the better that we do in setting them up through that success, the better they're going to be set up to be ready to dive into those leadership positions in the communities going forward. There's just a lot of amazing things that we have the opportunity to learn. Youth at those ages, not all youth are learning some of these things as they go along and doing it in a fun environment. I mean, there are some other programs where folks can learn some leadership and where youth can learn leadership as they're going on in their school programs and other things too as well. But there's so many cool things that you could do in scouting that gets to be fun, and you get to learn some of this stuff as you go along. And so a lot of really good reasons about why you should, because ultimately what you're doing here is you're not just finding a place for them to go and have fun. You're trying to set them up and get them ready for life after scouting. So let's talk now a little bit about the next thing. So our second thing here is, what are the fundamentals of Scout-Led? So Scout-Led really is just a leadership model that aligns with the principles of scouting as you go through. What it does is it puts scouts in an active role in making decisions and learning decision making, also in planning, and then just in managing the overall operation of their troop. So at a very young age, they're really starting to gain a lot of the principles of leadership. Another fundamental really of Scout-Led, and this is probably one of the harder, I think, fundamentals that you have in it, is that Scout-Led troop is meant to be guided and mentored by their adult volunteers, but not directed. That one's hard. I mean, we all spend a good part of our lives learning how to adult and learning how to be proficient in doing things, whether that's setting goals, whether it's time management, or a lot of things that we have going on in our lives, to where we get pretty good at living life and doing these tasks. And it's really easy for us, especially as parents sometimes, to try to direct and give direction to our children on how they need to learn to get good at doing these kind of things as well. But in scouting, with the Scout-Led, we're really not doing that. We're really not directing. We're there more so to guide. Really wanting to emphasize a lot in Scout-Led on character development and personal responsibility and working to serve others. These are things that they, in a Scout-Led environment, Scouts learn that as they go through the processes of trying to run and lead their troop. So they have to be given the opportunity to do these things. So if we as adults just keep giving them direction and telling them how to do them, will they eventually get there? Sure. But they also will get there and they'll learn a lot more when they're given those opportunities. Think about when you entered into the professional workforce into your life. We all learned lessons as we went into that professional life on how to better communicate. We learn lessons sometimes about how to better communicate direction to staff, or whether that's in our work environment or even in our family environment. Sometimes it's, you learn that there's a better way to soften the delivery of a message. These are all the things that we've learned kind of throughout our lives, and that we're giving Scouts an opportunity to learn early, to give them a leg up and put them a little bit ahead of what some of the others have got going. But ultimately, what we're really doing, in youth-led and Scout-led events, is that we're trying to prepare the young adults to be ready to be the future leaders in our communities. And it doesn't matter what level that may be. There's many levels of leadership that we have throughout our communities. That could be small level, local level, work level, national level. Many different things on that. And so we're prepping them for that and for life after scouting. Scouting's only a small part, of my life. I was a youth scout in a scouting program for only 7 years of my life for that. But it's impacted me in a lot of ways as I've grown up and throughout as I've taken my life as an adult. So now let's dive a little bit more detail into some of the elements that we have in Scout-led so that you better understand some of that. And so one of the basic level elements in scouting is the patrol system. And so your troop as a whole is one big unit. And then typically that troop is broken down into multiple patrols. So depending on the size of your troop, you could be in a small troop where you only have one or maybe two patrols. Or you could be in a larger inner city troop in some of the bigger areas like we are here in Colorado, where you might have anywhere from 4 to 10 patrols in your troop. And so what this does, the patrol system really, it allows them to have more manageable areas to where it's a little easier for them to learn some of these leadership constructs. And so, but then it also allows for there to be more leadership type positions where the scouts can have the opportunity to learn some of the leadership concepts of Scout-led. And so you can start off, they can be patrol leaders. Then you can also have assistant patrol leaders and senior patrol leaders and assistant senior patrol leaders. There's also other positions and stuff throughout the troop that they can do to get entry levels into kind of leadership and having responsibilities. But really having the patrol method really allows them to lead into what's another kind of element of Scout-led, which is youth leadership. And so as they go through the scouting program and they work through their rank advancements, they're required to participate in some of these leadership roles. And so you're kind of pushing the kids out of their comfort zones a little bit sometimes to get into some of these environments to learn how, and learn some of those fundamentals of leadership. And some of those things could be simple things like how to give direction to their peers and their fellow scouts, how to plan and manage meetings, how to plan outings, also how to communicate with adults, and then just different things that they have as they're going through. There's all kinds of skill development as well in Scout-led, not only just in leadership positions, but they're given opportunities where one of the elements is that they're given plenty of times to be able to practice in these. And so, for example, there's weekly meetings normally in those troops. So if you're a patrol leader and your child is having to learn how to run a meeting for their patrol, they may not get it right to begin with. They may get it wrong and they may mess up 3, 4, 5 times in some of those meetings. But the goal is that during their time in that position is to give them a safe environment where they can make mistakes, and and you coach them from the side on how to make it better the next time. So maybe you made a mistake in this meeting, but in the next meeting, try to do this. So as long as they're making efforts to do it, but that's the hard part sometimes as an adult, is to not step in and try to correct the mistake when it's happening. It's really tough to know how to kind of stay back and do some of that. Some of the other elements is, they get tons of leadership training in scouting. So as they get into these positions for Scout-led and getting in some of the leadership positions, they're given tons of training to be able to help support them and give them the skills to work in that. I mean, some of these trainings are the same trainings that I deliver to adults in the corporate world. And so to see the scouts learning some of these at such an early age is just amazing to be able to do. And then two, another big element that you see in the Scout-led that I've mentioned earlier is allowing them a safe environment to fail. To realize, because it creates a lot of different things. It helps them learn how to respond when they fail, but it also allows them to get really creative on how they try to make the next steps from that failure. How are you going to correct that failure? What are you going to do if you made a mistake? Let's use the example of that. They went through the planning phases. They were taught by some of their youth leaders to, on how to plan for an outing. They did a meal plan. They put together a meal. They went grocery shopping. They got it. But, they decided to kind of joke and laugh and play around a little bit, and didn't necessarily go back over and double check their menu list, and maybe they forgot a couple items. So this is one of those times where, as an adult, where it's like you can maybe give some hints on that. Hey, have you checked your list? Or but you don't want to blatantly tell them, hey, you didn't buy the chili for our chili cheese hot dogs. And so if they don't figure it out, as with some subtle hints there, then that gives them this opportunity for failure. And so the question is going to be, where do they recognize that failure? And then what do they do to respond to that? Do they recognize it when they're packing the troop to get ready to go to the event later? Or do they recognize when they get there and they're getting ready to do lunch and they all of a sudden pull everything out and they're like, oh my goodness, where's the chili? And then they have to decide, what are we going to do from there? What's the next plans? So a lot of opportunities in Scout-led to really learn what they can do and to learn those leadership concepts. And so creating that environment, I think, is very important. So let's move on now to number 4. So that leads me into, what does a good Scout-led troop look like? So if you're a new parent coming into a new troop that, and maybe you were involved in Cub Scouts, which was very adult-led, or maybe you're just new to scouting altogether and you're coming into this at first and you're showing up to a meeting. Looking at it from the outside in the beginning, you may see a whole lot of chaos, and you may wonder what in the world is going on. But I tell you, it's not always the case that it is ultimately chaos. Communicate and talk with your volunteer leaders, your Scoutmaster and other folks, and talk to them about Scout-led. Get them to tell you a little bit more about how they look at it and how they better understand it. Because I promise you, if you pay it a little bit of attention, what you'll notice is you notice adult leaders standing at the side and watching and paying attention from there. Because what you're probably not seeing is you're not seeing where the adult leader showed up 20, 30 minutes earlier for the meeting in order to meet with the youth leaders, say the senior patrol leader, to talk about what their plan was for the meeting and to discuss some of the things that they had there. You may not also notice that the adult leader is also probably standing off to the side making notes, maybe on some of the things that maybe they're not doing so well, or that maybe they are failing in a little bit. So they better have that to talk with them about afterwards. The importance is that when you see a Scout-led event, what you should see as an adult is the youth leadership out front, leading, managing, directing the youth. These are the things that that you should notice. Now, whether they're doing it perfect, or they're meeting the time frames that they need, you may not always see some of that. You may not always leave exactly when they plan to leave for an outing. But what you should see is that. What you shouldn't see is an adult leader stepping in to correct in front of the entire group of Scouts on a regular basis. Some of the methods that I've used, and I go more into detail about how to be an adult volunteer in a Scout-led troop in another video. So check that out if you have an interest in that. But you're not always going to see the adult leader stepping in. Because hopefully they're coaching them along the way, they're mentoring them, but then they're stepping back and they're allowing them the opportunity to see how they can lead, and to make whatever successes they make, and to make any mistakes that they make as well. And so it can always be interesting watching how some of that do and go along. And as I mentioned before, it is not easy as an adult to really allow yourself to fall into that environment sometimes. Now, there are situations, of course, where an adult should step in. Safety is the number one situation. Always know that safety is our number one priority when you've got a troop. And so if the troop is going in an avenue, or the scouts are going in an avenue where they're starting to get to the verge of some safety issues, then the scout leader should absolutely. But you have those conversations with the scouts so that they know, hey, these are the times I'm going to step in. And then there's also times you may see situations where maybe the scoutmaster will ask for the senior patrol leader to step aside for a little bit, and they'll have a conversation off to the side about some of the things that maybe are going on or other things to better help them know how to direct and be able to do it. But you should always see the scouts acting. And so that's the number one thing that you should see. And, you know, and like I said, if you've got a young troop, this may not be a very easy thing, and it may definitely be a very chaotic thing until you can get somebody. Because in the perfect scout-led troop, you have multi-levels of scouts and age groups. So you've got the younger youth that maybe are just coming in and crossing over, but then you've got those that have been around for a few years that understand some constructs about how to do it, and then you've got those that have, you know, maybe are getting close to 6 or 7 years in the troop, and they're a little bit more experts at how to do some of these things. And so they should be the ones that are really advised along the way for that. And so it's beautiful when you see it happening. And so it's really important for us as adults to really kind of work together to do our best to try to work towards that. So that leads me into our fifth and final kind of topic here on this, is how you can help. So there's many different ways that you can help in this. Ultimately, of course, the number one way is to volunteer. We always need help. As I mentioned, it's not easy to do a scout-led troop, or even to just be able to do a good active troop in general as it is. But that doesn't mean that you have to necessarily go to every single event, show up to every single meeting. I promise you, if every parent of every scout in a troop was to at least volunteer 2 or 3 times a year on a different event or activity for troop, or, you know, troop meetings and other things, you would have plenty, well over plenty of support and help for that. So there's plenty of things that you can do to help, whether that's put on a uniform and become one of the assistant scout masters and help be one of those guides and coaches and mentors along the way, or volunteer, you know, as a committee member. Maybe you're good at numbers and helping, you know, the troop keep up with their finances, or helping with advancement. There's just tons of different things that you can do to help. So definitely offer up, talk to your scoutmaster, try to find what you think would fit well with your schedule. But know that, you know, helping set this up is the best way we can set our scouts up for success. Another way that you can really help in the scout-led movement of things is to direct your kids back to the scout leadership. Naturally, especially when they're younger and you first started in the troop, it's natural for the kids to want to come to you or to come to other adult leaders to ask when they have questions and other things. And so sometimes I tell newer parents, you know, come in, hang out for a little bit, and then step away for a little while, and that way you're not a distraction to the scout in the beginning phases of what they're doing. But if they come to you and they go, hey, I'm not sure what's going on, or hey, what am I supposed to do for this event? Direct them back to their youth leadership. Learn what their youth leaders are. This could be like when they initially start off, and maybe as a patrol leader that they have, ask them if they've spoke to their patrol leader. Sometimes you'll find it where the scouts are like, oh yeah, I talked to the patrol leader and he's not giving me the information. So that's why I'm coming to you as an adult, because adult, you always give me information. But then still direct them back. Go, well, okay, well, if your patrol leader didn't give you the information, did you go to your senior patrol leader? And then keep directing them back to helping have that communication with the scouts, because that's where we want the leadership and the direction of things happening is on the youth leadership level. So in conclusion, really, this was, like I said, just kind of a simple video to kind of help you get a better understanding of what Scout-led has been about. There are lots of trainings out there to better help you understand this. Talk to your Scoutmaster, talk to one of the assistant Scoutmasters. There's tons of stuff for adults, whether it's for as a parent or even if you decide to volunteer and be a youth or an adult volunteer. There's tons of training out there for it, whether that's online training that you can take that helps you better understand things, or even some cool in-person training things that we get to take to better help you understand what running a good troop can look like and be successful in. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. Hopefully it was helped answer some of those questions and helps you have a better understanding a little bit about what Scout-led actually is and why it is important for us to help put that time together to make sure that we're doing the Scout-led way on doing that. If this was helpful for you, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. I'm constantly trying to put out more information on giving advice on that, as I mentioned earlier too. I've got a video that is for Scout leaders on how to help coach folks along on being Scout-led and keeping your troop Scout-led, and how you can work with this youth to be able to do some of that. So hopefully everybody had a great day, and we'll see you guys in a future video.